His gaze shifted to empty air. The way you're thinking. Jamie, I can't think anymore. Gently, without looking at her, he put a hand on her shin under the blanket. He shook her legs slightly, a gesture of affection. I'm going to turn you into a vampire, kid. Poppy put both fists to her face and began to cry. Hey, he let go of her shin and put an awkward arm around her, pulling her to sit up. Don't do that. It's okay. It's better than the alternative. You're freaking crazy, Poppy sobbed. Once the tears had started, they flowed too easily. She couldn't stop them. There was comfort in crying, and in being held by James. He felt strong and reliable, and he smelled good. You said you had to be born one, she added, blurrily, between sobs. No, I didn't. I said I was born one. There are plenty of the other kind around. Made vampires. There would be more, but there's a law against just making any jerk off the street into one. But I can't. I'm just what I am. I'm me. I can't be like that. He put her gently away so he could look into her face. Then you're going to die. You don't have any other choice. I checked around, even asked a witch. There's nothing else in the night world to help you. What it comes down to is, do you want to live or not? Poppy's mind, which had been swamped in confusion again, suddenly fixed on this question. It was like a flashlight beam in a pitch-black room. Did she want to live? Oh, God, of course she did. Until today, she'd assumed it was her unconditional right to live. She hadn't ever been grateful for the privilege, but now she knew it wasn't something to take for granted, and she also knew it was something she'd fight for. Wake up, Poppy. This is the voice of reason calling. He says he can save your life. Wait a minute. I've got to think, Poppy said tightly to James. Her tears had stopped. She pushed him away completely and stared fiercely at the white hospital blanket. Okay. Now get your head straight, girl. You knew James had a secret, so you never imagined it was anything like this. So what? He's still James. He may be some god-awful undead fiend, but he still cares about you. And there's nothing else, and there's nobody else to help you. She found herself clutching at James's hand without looking at him. What's it like? She said through clenched teeth. Steady and matter of fact, he said. It's different. It's not something I'd recommend if there was another choice, but it's okay. You'll be sick while your body's changing, but afterwards you'll never get any kind of disease again. You'll be strong and quick, and immortal. I'd live forever? But would I be able to stop aging? She had visions of herself as an immortal crone. He grimaced. Poppy, you'd stop aging now. That's what happens to made vampires. Essentially, you're dying as immortal. You'll look dead and be unconscious for a while, and then you'll wake up. I see. Sort of like Juliet in the tomb, Poppy thought. And then she thought, oh, God. Mum and Phil. There's another thing you should know, James was saying. A certain percentage of people don't make it. Don't make it? Through the change. People over 20 almost never do. They don't ever wake up. Their bodies can't adjust to the new form and they burn out. Teenagers usually live through it, but not always. Oddly enough, this was comforting to Poppy. A qualified hope seemed more believable than an absolute one. To live, she would have to take a chance. She looked at James. How do you do it? The traditional way, he said with a ghost of a smile. Then gravely, we exchange blood. Oh, great, Poppy thought, and I was afraid of a simple shot. Now I'm going to have my blood drawn by fangs. She swallowed and blinked, staring at nothing. It's your choice, It's your choice, Poppy. It's up to you. There was a long pause, and then she said, I want to live, Jamie. He nodded. It'll mean going away from here, leaving your parents. They can't know. Yeah, I was just realizing that. Sort of like getting a new identity from the FBI, huh? More than that, you'll be living in a new world, the night world. And it's a lonely world, full of secrets, but you'll be walking around in it instead of lying in the ground. He squeezed her hand. Then he said very quietly and seriously, "Do you want to start now?" All Poppy could think of to do was shut her eyes and brace herself the way she did for an injection. "I'm ready," she said through stiff lips. James laughed again, this time as if he couldn't help it. Then he folded the bed rail down and settled beside her. "I'm used to people being hypnotized when I do this. It's weird to have you awake." "Yeah, well, if I scream you can hypnotize me," Poppy said, not opening her eyes. "Relax," she told herself firmly. "No matter how much it hurts, no matter how awful it is, you can deal with it. You have to. Your life depends on it." Her heart was thumping hard enough to shake her body. "Right here," James said, touching her throat with cool fingers as if feeling for a pulse. "Just do it," Poppy thought. "Get it over with." She could feel warmth as James leaned close to her, taking her carefully by the shoulders. Every nerve ending in her skin was aware of him. Then she felt cool breath on her throat, and quickly, before she could recoil, a double sting. Those fangs, burying themselves in her flesh, making two little wounds so he could drink her blood. Now it's really going to hurt, Poppy thought. She couldn't brace herself anymore. Her life was in the hands of a hunter. She was a rabbit trapped in the claws of a snake, a mouse under the claws of a cat. She didn't feel like James's best friend. She felt like lunch. "Poppy, what are you doing? Don't fight it. It hurts when you resist." James was speaking to her, but the warm mouth on her throat hadn't moved. The voice was in her head. "I'm not resisting," Poppy thought. "I'm just ready for it to hurt, that's all." There was a burning where his teeth pierced her. She waited for it to get worse, but it didn't. It changed. "Oh," Poppy thought. The feeling of heat was actually pleasant. A sensation of release, of giving, and closeness. She and James were getting closer and closer, like two drops of water moving together until they merged. She could sense James's mind, his thoughts, and his feelings. His emotions flowed into her, though, through her. Tenderness, concern, caring, a cold black rage at the disease that was threatening her, despair that there was no other way to help her, and longing to share with her, to make her happy. Yes, Poppy thought. A wave of sweetness made her dizzy. She found herself groping for James's hand, their fingers intertwining. "James," she thought with wonder and joy, a communication to him, a tentative caress. "Poppy," she could feel his own surprise and delight, and all the time the dreamy pleasure was building, making Poppy shiver with its intensity. How could I have been so stupid, Poppy thought, to be afraid of this? It isn't terrible, it's right. She had never been so close to anyone. It was as if they were one being, together, not predator and prey, but partners in a dance. Poppy and James. She could touch his soul. Strangely enough, he was afraid of that. She could sense it. "Poppy, don't. So many dark things. I don't want you to see." Dark, yes, Poppy thought, but not dark and terrible. Dark and lonely. Such utter loneliness. A feeling of not belonging in either of the two worlds he knew. Not belonging anywhere. Except... Suddenly Poppy was seeing an image of herself. In his mind she was fragile and graceful, an emerald-eyed spirit of the air.